Hey guys, it's Alex. I just wanted to hop in and give a brief trigger warning. As this episode, we're going to go over a lot of heavy themes from the book, which includes grief and loss, particularly the loss of a spouse and the loss of a child. So if this is something that you're particularly sensitive to, this might not be the episode for you, but tune into our next episode as we don't have such heavy themes in that one. I don't have all my bearings today.
Yep, I know. I am well aware as we're sitting here at empty table with no book using my laptop.
I didn't even read it. I just looked up the Cliff Notes. Hi, I'm Alex. I'm a cheater.
Hi, I'm Carly, and I don't know shit about fuck.
And this is books we can't shut the fuck up about.
Period.
Okay, so you know that I've been having a really hard time with my relationship with the universe.
Yes.
So that's the whole reason I picked this book.
Uh-huh.
And then earlier this morning, you just decided to ruin all my faith in the universe anyway.
I did. Sorry, I had lots of thoughts and opinions.
Yeah, no, you did. And I hated all of them.
Well,
I mean, they were valid.
Yeah, they're valid. It's just, we had like a whole powwow this morning of whether or not the universe or God was real,
So this is The Year of Magical Thinking by Joan Didion.
Oh, man.
And so I picked this one because, again, I was just like feeling really jaded the last year and was like, all the woo-woo TikTok girlies, like, love them. But also, I feel like they all just promote one thing. Which is that the universe is real and you have to manifest. And if you're not getting what you want, it's because you didn't manifest properly or something along those lines.
Yeah. Which, again, deep conversation about what if you're just at the right place at the right time, What if like everything that happens to you is just a product of your environment? And then that really fucking sucks to think about.
I was thinking that maybe we just we are our own God.
Period.
Which is way worse. No, I don't think that's good.
Oh, how's it bad?
Well, because what you were specifically talking about was that like you would ask for a sign and you had got it in multiple different ways in multiple different times, and then like nothing came of that. Yeah, which like I had been in the same situation a while ago, and just the whole idea of like seeing the signs in real life is just like your confirmation bias. That's like the boring explanation that probably is true, but that's not the point.
Yeah, I literally don't know shit about fuck.
The point is that this is the whole reason that I chose this book. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people, like Joan Didion is just a great writer. She has a lot of other books as well. I don't know them off the top of my head. But this book, it's not preachy at all.
Oh, good.
So it follows the death of her husband and like how she like moves through the grieving process of like losing him. Mm. And it was very sudden. Mm. But it's never like here's a list of things to do or here's like how you might feel. Like she's literally just like, this is exactly what I remember doing. And none of it really made a lot of sense. But now that like she wrote it a year after his passing. And I think with her hindsight, she just didn't judge how she moved through those waves at all. So I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. She like uses repetition and language, and the pacing of the books makes it so relatable, and it really like helps the reader go on the journey of her like experiencing her grief with her. Like you feel very much. There's moments where she's like, and then I did this, and then I did this, and then I did this. You just feel how she was on autopilot because it was so close to like right after he had died. Mm-hmm. But she's just like sharing her brain throughout the year's time. She's not giving you advice, and it's not like sterile like a nonfiction book on grief, like because I didn't find that like really all that helpful after I had like lost people in my family to read a book from like a psychiatrist about like, this is what you'll feel. Like it just felt so detached in a way. Mm-hmm. But she starts the book and it's with a quote, and it's a quote. It's a quote of her quoting herself.
I famously do that all the time.
Don't I know?
Love a good quote by myself.
But it says, life changes fast. Life changes in the instant. You sit down to dinner and life as you know it ends. The question of self-pity. And she saved that note on her computer on May 20th, 2004 at 11:11. And so the title of the book is called The Year of Magical Thinking. But the only like magical mysticism things that are said in the book, at least to me, was her noting that it was 11:11 when she saved the note. And also throughout, like when she lost her husband just before, her daughter was in and out of the hospital. Like that's a crazy saga and we'll kind of get into it later. So the 11:11 thing. And then the only other thing that I really remember is that when her daughter was in the hospital, I don't remember if it was the first time or the second time, but she just insisted. She was like, in my mind, I just knew that she was going to be okay. Like she was getting out of the hospital. She was just going to survive.
Amazing.
And so those were the only two things that I was like, oh, this sounds very woo-woo. And not even very, because she didn't go into it at all. Like the 11:11, she wasn't like, this is an angel number. And she wasn't like, oh, this is like the law of attraction, like, or assumption, you know, like, it was just like, I just knew that my daughter was going to be okay. And I decided it. And then there it was. So the book starts off and she's declared that her husband died, and it's like really sterile language that she uses. So 9 months and 5 days ago at approximately 9 o'clock on the evening of December 30th, 2003, my husband, John Gregory Dunn, appeared to, or did, experience at the table where he and I had just sat down to dinner in the living room of our apartment in New York, a sudden massive coronary event that caused his death. And so she continues this like sterile tone. I wouldn't say sterile. It's more like very matter of fact. Like this happened and then this happened. The ambulance came. They did CPR. I thought it was for just like 15 minutes max. Turns out it was 45. Like it's just very much, there's almost no emotion to it. So she continues like that and she goes over what happened that night. I said this, I built the fire, I got him a scotch, I set the table, I lit the candles, I got him another scotch. Like, it's just, this happened, this happened, this happened. So again, just like kind of devoid of emotion when she's explaining it. And she filters herself to like, I remember doing this and I remember doing that. And at this point in time, John had already died. She had gone to the hospital and there was a social worker assigned to her right when she got there because like he was dead on arrival. He wasn't, they had to like bring him to the hospital to declare a time of death, but they knew he wasn't like going to be able to be resuscitated. And so she had a social worker. And when the doctor came in to talk to them, the social worker, like the doctor must have looked hesitant. And the social worker was like, don't worry, she's a cool patient. Yeah. And so, yeah, that like, yeah, it's like little things like that, that really stuck to her because she was wondering like, what the fuck does it mean to not be a cool patient? Like, am I supposed to be acting some other ways? The way that like I'm showing grief about what I just found out wrong sort of thing.
Unless they were just talking about like anger, like she's not angry.
Yeah. I feel like he was just like kind of talking about like, she's like,
mellow,
she's like well balanced, maybe like she's not like gonna be
hysterical. I think
that's what he meant, but he specifically was like she's cool.
Well, I also think it's just like one of those things like what do you kind of like expect? Like I feel like on the other end, like to be a doctor and to like have to tell someone they're like loved one has passed, that's like really gotta be hard. Like I'd be so awkward. I'd be like, so you know that like Grinch meme and he's like, hey, what is up, my guy?
No, I don't.
I feel like that's how I would be. And they'd be like, oh, sorry, you know, he's just like not here, you know?
Yeah.
Just like not here.
Well, I just also feel like they should be better about it. No, but I mean, like, this is like a very normal thing that's going to happen to them. Like, especially if you're a surgeon.
Yeah.
I mean, like he was probably an ER doctor, but like,
yeah,
I imagine ERs are also very chaotic and have a lot of death in them. Like, it's just the nature of a hospital. So like, did they not get taught bedside manner when they're in med school?
I don't know. But like, I just feel like that's hard because it's individually. Like, it must be hard to like go to the hospital, like know that patients are going to die like every day. I feel like it's almost like you're going to disassociate yourself, because that's probably what I would do. I'd be like disassociating. And then if like someone did die, to have to like watch someone like break down in front of me, I'm like, oh God, you know?
Yeah, because there's really like nothing you can do.
There's nothing
to make
you
it
can,
better.
There's nothing you can do, but also like the disassociation is like, now you have to deal with it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I just remember being at the hospital when we decided to like take my grandma off of life support, and he was very much just like, this is what's going to happen, which was fine. But conversations we had before, I think, were that she was getting better and all of these positives that he also told us. So that was the problem that we specifically had with him. I don't know. There's no good way to do it.
Yeah.
And also, like, if I'm grieving, I don't want not that I don't want the empathy of a stranger, but I don't want to be consoled by someone that I hardly know. You know? Anyway. But so she's going, so as she goes on, she's like, I did this. And then she like went to like, I remember doing this. I remember doing that. But it really like works. Like the language that she uses just really grounds the reader into like the chaos that she was going through in those specific moments. Like she can't remember everything, but the things that she doesn't remember, she puts into the moments of like what she believed happened. Even at some point she was like, I likely did this. Something horrible just happened. Like she doesn't remember everything that she's done. I can't even like remember the order that I did things in this morning, you know? But she comes home from the hospital that night, and the immediate thought she had was that she needed to tell John about what happened. And then all of a sudden she's just like met with the silence of the apartment.
Oh, dude.
Yeah, I know.
Dude.
I know. And then there's a whole part where she's talking about like, because she didn't remember. So like, which I think is a normal thing. Like you wake up the next day and you kind of just like forget. You almost feel like it's a fever dream. And so she would be like, oh, I need to put John's shoes there for when he comes home. And it's just like, and then she has the moment of being like, oh.
Yeah.
No. You know?
Yeah.
Dates, like, there's little things like that, which I guess that could be like a magical thinking thing. She got to a point where she was able to donate all of his clothes, but for whatever reason, she couldn't donate his shoes. She was like, he'll need them for when he comes home. And that she mentioned either 2 or 3 times throughout the book. So I feel like that could be like a magical thinking thing where she was like, no, he's going to come home. But not in a like, it's odd because it wasn't in like a delusionary way. It was just like a coping thing.
Yeah,
which was
really
just
sad.
I know, yeah.
It's very sad.
But dates become something that she repeats really often throughout the book. And I think that's how she also was trying to like mark time. And that's how she explains kind of everything that happened in that phase of her life. Because again, her daughter was in the hospital too. So on December 30th, 2003, we went to Beth Israel North. The hospital her daughter was currently at due to a variety of reasons, because she was in a coma. Like, it was like a couple days after Christmas or the day after Christmas. She just had a really high fever and then went to the hospital and she needed to be in a coma.
Oh.
Yeah, like crazy stuff. So her and her husband had gone to Beth Israel North, and
shout out to Beth Israel North.
Yeah, I don't even know if it's still there. We'll figure that out. We can tag them. So they go there, and like that's the reality of the last like few weeks of his life, is that he's just like logistically trying to figure out what's wrong with his daughter, how that's going to play out. The saddest thing is that like he died without knowing that his daughter was actually okay.
Well, yeah, but wouldn't you think they would figure that out if he was dead?
Well, I don't know. With our conversation this morning, I'm not really sure of anything anymore, okay?
Yeah, that's fair. I just feel like maybe when we die, we become like omnipresent.
We go back into the collective consciousness. So she needs to remind herself that he's passed, and she needs to remind herself that it was real by grounding his death into other situations that happened. So like, it was the 30th, they had gone to the hospital, they came home, they made dinner, he died, she came home alone, her friend came over and helped write his obituary. Like, it's very, I don't even know what the word for it is. Like, it reads like,
it's like
step by step by step. But it also just feels really, really relatable. That's how my aunts and I like piece together the timeline for my grandma. Like, when you just look back, like, you don't have clear memory of everything that happened. Mm-hmm. So you have to have those like events to really like remember as much as you can, which also just kind of sucks. But she chronologized.
Well, I feel like it's different for each person. Like, when my grandpa died, it was random. Like, it was a random, like, Tuesday in July. And my dad was just like, hey, I got the call that Papa died in his sleep. But there was no, like, he was getting older, for sure. But it wasn't stuff like that. Like, with my grandma, she had been in and out of the hospital. And, like, again, it was in and out of the hospital for, like, fluid stuff. And then it was, like, all of a sudden the last time it was, like, yeah, she was, like, not coming back. But, like, with her, I can kind of see, like, those events. But with Papa, it was just, like, I mean, he was old and he had, like, problems. But, again, he was, like, driving. He was going to church. He was, like, a deacon every Sunday. Like, there wasn't, like, that rapid decline. It was just, like,
he was fine. And then all of a sudden it was, like,
yeah. I mean, I do remember, I think the scary part about, like, getting older is I do think at some point you realize you're about to die. And, like, I remember a month before he actually died, I was on the phone with him and he just randomly told me that he was like, wasn't ready to go. And I was like, I just thought it was odd.
Yeah.
Because it was like, he was, so again, there was nothing like anything that was like bringing him in and out of the hospital, you know? So I was like, that's such an like odd thought to have.
Yeah.
And then he just like he just died in his sleep. And I was like, oh, okay.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
But she chronologizes. How do you chronologizes?
You shouldn't ask me.
Chronologizes.
Chronological.
She chronologizes.
Okay,
that sounds stupid anyway I say it. Yeah, she does that. Everything that happened the night he died by getting documentation from the doorman. So they had to record every single person who came in and out of the hospital. And she does this twice in the book, but this time it's more fragmented because she doesn't have all of the information yet, because she gets information from the doorman, but then she also gets more information from like the hospital as well. But the paramedics arrived at 9:20. They left with John at 10:05 p.m. He was pronounced dead at 10:18 p.m. And she thought that they were only in her house for like 15 or 20 minutes, like, because she's like trying to
get it together.
Yeah. Like, she's just kind of like running around, like panicking. She's manically like trying to figure out the exact moment they were gone. Like that felt really like she needed to know when he was actually dead, because she kind of goes into like, if they were here for 45 minutes, then they just pronounced him dead at 10:18. The time that he actually like soul left body was super important to her. And she kind of like went into literature about people who have like massive coronary events and like other things like that, and kind of assumes that he likely died like right when he passed out at the dinner table, and like never came back at all. But so she manically like tries to figure out the exact moment that he was gone, and like almost like to punish yourself more for not doing something like at the exact moment. You know, she doesn't get very self-punishing throughout the book, but just having that nagging feeling kind of in the background.
Yeah, like the guilt that she could have done something differently.
Yeah, like in reality, had you known like the exact moment that he died, then maybe she could have done this instead.
That's hard. Like, unless you're like an open heart surgeon, I don't know if you'd be able to do anything on the spot.
I don't know if I'd be able to do anything on the spot. Like,
at all, period.
Yeah. Like if it was someone that I would love to think that I would be the type of person who would just like jump into action. But if it's someone that I know who like just looks like everything has left them, like what do you, like I don't think my body would catch up to my brain.
Yeah. I think about that all the time when my like nephews are like eating. I'm like, God, if you choke right now, I don't know what I would do.
I know.
I'm like, all right, we got to slow it down there, buddy.
I watched one of my nephews and one of my nieces when they were young. Mm-hmm. The other one, not so much. But every time they slept like at my house, they'd usually be in their little bassinet thing in my room. And I'd just be like, holy fuck, are they still breathing? Yeah. Like, holy fuck, are they, like, did they forget? Like, I don't know.
Do they forget?
Did they forget to do that thing?
I forget to breathe all the time.
Don't I know it? Yeah. But she tried to make things he said into, like, a prophetic belief. Like, kind of how you said that, like, your grandpa was like, oh, I don't know if I'm ready to go yet. Like, they were at dinner at a restaurant, and he didn't have a pen. They were both writers. He was a writer too. I didn't mention that. But he like wrote down his thoughts on a napkin and asked her to hold it for him. And then later he was like, oh, you can have it if you can use it if you want to. And after his death, she was thinking back to like different omens and symbols that she had missed. Like, so she was like, oh, with him like giving that quote to me, did he know he was going to die? Did he know he wasn't going to need these words because he was never going to be able to do anything with them? Like, was that like some sort of subconscious feeling that he had?
Yeah, but I feel like you drive yourself crazy thinking like that.
I know, but I feel like also, like, how do you stop that when you're like so deeply grieving?
Don't know.
Yeah. So he had a cardiac event about a year before he had died, where and this event specifically is called the Widowmaker. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Not a great one. But he kept saying things like, if something should happen to me, and saying that at least he knew how he would die. Like, I know, like, it'll definitely be my heart attack. Because his dad also had died suddenly from a cardiac event.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah. But she talked about how she needed things to be like this, and this, so he could come back. Like, she needed to be alone. Like, so when people had come over after his death, for whatever reason, it made her like more nervous. Like, if things weren't exactly in place as they were before he died, then there was no way he can come back. So she didn't really like that people were at her house. He needed to have his shoes. Everything needed to be the same, because then he'd be able to come back. I know. So in her grief, like she really did throw herself into research. Like, she was looking into like, she was reading books on how people grieve. She was reading books on like the cardiac events. And in one of the ones where she was reading like one of the psychology ones about grief, she mentions that I forgot what the two terms were. One was like typical grief. Mm-hmm. Like you're following the
10-step program.
Yeah. You're following like what people would assume you would when you grieve. And the other one was like either maladaptive or atypical grief. And she got really like worried that maybe she was falling into the atypical grief one. And like everything she has explained in the book so far was really normal. Like it wasn't like she was like thinking of like joining him or anything, you know, like she was being very normal, but just thinking about how easy it is to like overthink things like that, because she also kept bringing up the whole like how she's a cool patient thing that he said, and she's like, is that normal too? And then there was a statement or so in that book about how it could be harder for couples when they are widowed if there was like bad like codependency in the relationship. And so then that made her think like, oh, well, if I'm like grieving, were we codependent? Did we not have like a healthy dynamic? But with how she explains their relationship, they were very just like interdependent on each other. Like they seemed very sweet. Like they would go on walks together, but they each liked their own little route. So they would like start at the starting point and then go their separate ways and then like meet each other back. Wow. I know. I don't know why that one stuck out to me, but I was like, oh, that's really cute.
It's something we would do together.
It is something we would do, like hang out, but like not with each other.
Not with each other.
In the same town, in the same space. not together.
Yeah.
And that's important.
It's healthy.
But she did a lot of research into how animals grieve. And geese were observed, like once their mate died, geese were observed flying and calling until they became disoriented.
Oh,
I know.
Geese.
I know.
Even though, aren't they kind of dicks?
Well, it doesn't
Don't
mean they
attack
don't
you?
deserve love.
They're dicks. Every aggressive like bird video I've seen is with a geese.
Yeah, but they're dicks to humans. So like, is it wrong? I got you there. Okay, so these are 5 animals that grieve. In One Amazing Elephant,
Aww.
Queenie Grace is an elephant grieving the loss of her trainer, Bill, her human trainer.
Aww.
Elephants do grieve, and they are one of the few animals who are similar to humans in mourning patterns. Believe it or not, elephants cry. They bury their dead and pay tribute to the bodies and to the bones. Scientists have observed that elephants feel empathy. They toss dust upon the wounds of fellow elephants. They help others climb out of mud and holes. They even have been seen plucking tranquilizing darts from one another with their trunks. Researchers have observed elephants trying to help dying friends, lifting them with tusks and trunks, and crying out in distress.
Aww.
Monkeys. And I love that it's just like monkeys, umbrella term, not a specific one. But so they have been seen carrying the bodies of their dead babies, often for weeks, while screaming out in grief.
Aww.
Monkeys have strong social and familial connections, and it is believed that they are well aware that their companions have passed. Much as humans come together in mutual bonding when a shared loved one dies, so too do monkeys. They gather in groups and hug one another. And then dolphins, I was really surprised that dolphins made the list because I thought dolphins were dicks.
Oh, really? I'm not surprised at all. Dolphins are really sweet and they interact with humans a lot.
Maybe the dolphins I've heard about were like
What it is.
seaside dolphins.
Yeah, I mean, what it
Okay.
is that you didn't have childhood cancer, so you didn't get a free trip to SeaWorld when you were younger, and you didn't see the dolphin dive to the bottom to get some lady's glasses. So,
Yet another reason.
another reason.
I wish I had your
If we only turn back the clock.
Marine biologists have often observed dolphins supporting their dead offspring at the surface of the water. There are differences among the dolphins of different species, though. Oh, maybe there's like a dick-like species.
Makes sense to me. There's lots of humans that are dick-like in their species.
A recent study discovered that Atlantic spotted dolphin abandoned the carcass of their dead much sooner than the other species. It is believed by scientists that dolphins grieve partly because they live in pods of related individuals where they spend a lifetime together. The other two are giraffes and dogs, actually. This is also from HarperCollins Publishers, this article that I found all this info on. So after she's kind of like poured herself into a lot of different research, her view is kind of now subjected through a lens of loss and like temporariness. Yeah, this whole part was really moving to me. So she talks about an airline called the PSA. They called it the Smile, like regionally. It was an airline that existed in California that she and John would take to LA and San Francisco. So the airline doesn't exist anymore. But at one point, I don't remember if it was her and her daughter living in San Francisco and John living in LA or vice versa. But they would do that a lot, and they would have dinner at this place called Ernie's. And she was like, if I were alone, could he come back to me on the Smile? Would he say, let's get a table at Ernie's? But the Smile no longer exists. And they were married at a Bautista. Do we know what a Bautista is? I should have looked that up. I think it's like church adjacent. Anyway, so they were married at San Juan Bautista. And the section ends with, on a January afternoon when the blossoms were showing in the orchards off 101, when there were still orchards off of 101. So like even the orchards don't exist anymore. Like everything is different. Like I'm pretty sure later she says that Ernie's isn't even open anymore. So
yeah, I was going to ask about the Smile. I was like, is that just her being kind of like dramatic, or is like the airline no longer in service?
no, it's no longer in service. It doesn't exist.
Oh, wow.
So like all these like milestones about their relationship are just no longer a thing. And so she does this like really often throughout the book, just showing how her brain kind of like wanders from the simplest like thing that can trigger her down like into so many memories of her life, and they're all like with John and her daughter, but like they're all very much about him. But every single thing connects to them because they were just like such a big part of her life. Mm-hmm. So in her research, she read another book from the 20s, and it was about the etiquette of death, which for the 20s seems to be like super emotionally aware and very like much griever oriented. It's about how they should be respected and honored, like specifically the grieving family, which is odd because in the 20s, death was kind of everywhere. So the Spanish influenza outbreak, like, meant like tons of people were dying at home. So my assumption would have been that it would kind of be like the surgeons and doctors we were talking about earlier, well, where it makes you kind of like desensitized to death. But it just made them very aware of how like cutting death and grief really is. And now it seems that public forms of grief are really like self-indulgent, and that grief should be a private matter. Like that's kind of the that's kind of the understood belief now. Like you grieve at home, you don't like do it in public. You don't like break down at the grocery store, even though like it makes sense that you would. Yeah, you know.
Well, it probably again back to like it just makes people uncomfortable. Like people don't know how to deal with other people's emotions.
Yeah, but I mean, like, shouldn't we just fucking learn?
Yeah, I agree.
Like I said, her daughter Quintana had been in the hospital from a coma when her dad passed. So from Christmas until February, like the end of February, she was in the hospital. She'd gotten out of the coma. I don't really know the timeline on that, but they had his service in late March, and Quintana heals, and she decided, and also she had just gotten married. Like she had gotten married 1 to 3 months before she went into this coma.
Oh, I was going to say like Quintana did. Okay.
Yeah. And so she heals, and her fiance decide to go on a trip to California 2 days after her dad's service. So when they land in UCLA, she passes.
Wait. I thought he died a couple of days after Christmas.
Oh, yeah. So he did. He died on December 30th, but they didn't have his service until late March because Quintana was still in the hospital.
Okay, I see.
Yeah. So 2 days after the service, they leave. Once they land at LAX, she passes out in the airport and then is sent to UCLA hospital.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Joan's brother-in-law calls her to tell her this because they still live in California, and states that he doesn't think it's a good time for her to be on a flight, like implying like you're gonna get noticed that like your daughter's dead as well, so you don't need to be inaccessible. Ooh. Yeah. And then she remembers the silence that followed, because that's what he meant. Which silence is just a big theme in the book in general. The silence of her home after her husband died. The silences that people are using, like the doctors. They just kind of talk and explain things like in a shallow way, but then be silent. So they like wouldn't offer a lot of like extra, because I think she just had like a lot of questions. Like she's not a medical person, but they wouldn't really like give her a lot. Her brother-in-law using that to emphasize things he doesn't want to say out loud. And there are many times that she states like with those silences, she would just go into like what John would think about this situation. And so I believe John would have said this was about this sort of thing. He's also a writer. So I just can't imagine like having access to his computer and all his notes, all his like just kind of like inner musings, and then still having to wonder what he would say about something, you know? Like you have this like vast world of his thoughts because like he was constantly writing stuff, but you still don't know every opinion that a person has on something, no matter how well you know them. And so it just kind of sucked. Like, I don't know. That just like was really profound to me because he left behind so much of himself, but you're still wondering, you know?
I guess. I feel like maybe that too. Like, I feel like she had so much uncertainty, what it sounds like and like a lot of confusion. I wonder if that is like really more of like her uncertainty spiraling kind of like throughout the book.
Yeah, no, I think so, because she even asks, like, after he's died, she asks him, like, she's like just reaching out, what to do for Quintana at UCLA. And she said that in that moment, she had no idea what he would have told her.
Yeah.
Like she didn't know. And so it's just like this stark reminder that she is in this by herself now. And she talks about like different things she became compulsive about. Like she became obsessed with this like dish set that was like really old, and John's mom had given it to him when he first moved out of the house. But it was the only dishes she would use. Like she would like run the dishwasher 2 times a day if it meant that she could use those dishes. She described it as like how she couldn't move the shoes. Like she couldn't use any other dishes. Maybe because if she used the dishes that were 2 degrees dead, she'd be connected to a younger, healthier version of him.
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah.
That is sad.
She talks about like there's a divide between the funeral and the void afterward. So the funeral is where you're like comforted by people. You feel really loved and you feel a lot of support. And it feels meaningful. Like even though it's really painful, it feels like you've taken this death and you've put like some sort of meaning to it. But afterward, like people's lives go on. Like while yours is still on hold, essentially. Because like grief is sometimes just debilitating. But in the support like kind of trickles, like again, people are getting back to their lives and you're just left with nothing. So it's like you have this meaningful moment and then you just kind of have a lot of meaningless that follows sometimes. Direct quote, she said, Quintana resuming her life, I recognize now, was going to happen with or without me. But she realizes toward the end of the book that she's been recounting her life by what we, her and John, were doing on this day last year. Oh, dude, this is really
so
fucking sad. And this is really prevalent in the book. Like it's not in sequential order. It's kind of like, that's something that I actually really liked about the book, is that it doesn't go like, we got married and then we did this and then we had a baby. It's just like how her memory works. It's like, oh, I remember when we were at this house and we like lived by a cave that we would go swim in every now and again. It kind of pieced together and it was jumbled, like her memory and like cognition was during her grief, with the whole like it not being sequential. She gives pieces of the same story at different times, but it's to kind of help her remember exactly this, like what they were doing on this day last year. Today, as she's writing, is the first day that she can look back and realize that it doesn't involve John. And she says, for 40 years, I saw myself through John's eyes. I did not age. This year, for the first time since I was 29, I realized that my image of myself was of someone significantly younger. And I thought that was actually really beautiful, because like the way that she talked about like their relationship and their life together was just really lovely. Like it made me think a lot about just love and how things, like how we do so many things for those that we just like really cherish. Really just like how ordinary love is. Like they had their like restaurants that they loved to go to. They had their like little rituals that they would do where they would like go in their garden when Quintana was a baby and bring her bassinet out there. And they had this, like, I guess it was their own orchard in their backyard. They just really fell into each other's lives really well. And it just seemed really beautiful.
Yeah, that's nice.
But she knew that John liked to sit in his chair in the living room and read. And sometimes he'd read to her, which I was like, oh, that's so really cute. Like, that's a nice love language. And they both, I told you about this earlier, but like the preferred routes of where they walked. So they would like start together, but they'd go their own way. And they had like little sayings that they would always, tell each other. And so like John and their daughter would always say, I love you more than one more day, which I don't know if it's from like a movie or a book that they had read, but it's just, they were just so sweet. Like you could tell that they just like really were a very loving family. And I believe this is a quote kind of at the end of the book where she says, marriage is memory and marriage is time. And I thought her book like really just showcased that really well. It was really good.
Aww.
And again, like it wasn't like woo woo and like this is how you change your mindset. It was just like this is how my brain did stuff when I was really fucking sad about the loss of my husband.
Yeah, it kind of just sounds like a memoir.
Mm-hmm. A memoir.
A memoir. Yeah, I know I said that wrong.
Yeah, it was. And it was a really good one. If you would like to learn more about this memoir, I encourage you to read what's it? The Year of Magical Thinking by Joan F. Well, thanks for listening, guys. You should really check out the book. It's good.
This is a book we can't shut the fuck up about.
Memoir.
Memoir. This is her memoir.